I approached carefully and, closer now, saw her clearly. A young woman, no older than 20, with dark hair cascading over her shoulders and empty, sorrowful eyes. Taking a deep breath and recalling Jake's words, I pulled out Robert's harmonica and played the melody that had calmed the spirits at the station. As the notes filled the air, she reacted, her posture shifting. For a moment, her eyes met mine, reflecting recognition and gratitude. When the melody ended, she leaned toward me, her lips moving silently, yet I understood her message. The music had offered solace, a brief respite in her eternal search. With a final grateful look, she vanished, leaving the bridge empty under the moonlight. I lingered, reflecting on what I'd witnessed, feeling a mix of awe, sadness, and hope. Route 66, with its secrets and mysteries, was far more than I'd imagined. Returning to my room, I vowed to keep exploring its corners and stories, hoping to offer comfort to the souls still wandering. The next morning, I awoke with a peace I hadn't felt in days. The encounter with the young woman on the bridge gave me a sense of purpose, but also left me with questions. I decided to eat breakfast at the motel's small diner, hoping strong coffee would help me think. The scent of toast and fresh coffee filled the air. Locals chatted and read newspapers. I settled in a corner, and a friendly waitress took my order. As I was about to ask about local legends, a familiar voice interrupted. "That melody you played last night, I heard it from my truck crossing the bridge," said a gruff voice. It was Jake, sitting at the next table with a steaming coffee. I took a sip of my drink and replied, "This road has more secrets than you'd think." Jake nodded, his gaze distant. "You know, there's something I didn't tell you about that girl. They say she was the daughter of a musician traveling Route 66. When she disappeared, her father searched for her desperately, but never found her. They say he still plays his harmonica, hoping the sound will guide her back." His words hit me. Was that harmonica the same one Robert gave me? "Jake, how did you know about the harmonica? Do you know anything about the musician?" I asked, trying to piece it together. Jake paused. "Folks say he played in local bars, had a special family heirloom harmonica. After the accident, he became a drifter, playing along the road, waiting for a miracle." "Jake, one last thing. What made you mention Robert's harmonica?" I asked, uneasy. "Isn't it obvious?" "I heard it before I arrived," he said. I didn't understand. The conversation left me sad yet puzzled. If the story was true, I felt a responsibility not just to the girl but to her father, Robert. Maybe I could help close their cycle of pain. After breakfast, I went to the mechanic where my car was fixed. Before continuing, I knew I had to find the drifter and tell him I'd found his daughter's spirit. I drove back to the abandoned station. The day passed quickly, hunger gnawing at me, but I pressed on. As I neared the station, strange noises came from the car's engine. The gas gauge was empty, and smoke smelling of burning rubber and metal billowed out. "Not again," I muttered. It wasn't a simple fix, but I'd deal with it later. I ran to the station, hoping to find Robert and share the truth about his daughter. The place was as I'd left it, ruined, but showing signs of temporary refuge. Inside, I saw Robert's jovial smile. I rushed to him, words tumbling out between gasps from running and hunger. I tried to explain his daughter's spirit, but he listened patiently without interrupting, his gaze heavy with sorrow, yet radiating calm and joy. In my excitement, I reached to steady myself on his shoulders, but my hands passed through and I fell to my knees. Maybe I'm a bit dizzy, I thought, trying to stand. But as I looked up, my heart shattered. Against the wall lay a man, weary, with weathered skin and tattered clothes. Robert, he was slumped, holding a worn, faded photo, barely showing a young girl's face. I turned slowly, and there he was, standing behind me with the same melancholic smile and sorrowful eyes. I understood. Tears streamed down my face. I called the police to report his passing. Hours later, a patrol arrived from a nearby town. I stayed with his body, playing the harmonica one last time as a farewell to his long journey. His spirit, by my side, watched as I played the melody he'd taught me to calm Route 66's souls. Tears fell from his ethereal face, and he vanished, with a look of immense gratitude. Robert had died of old age, clutching his daughter's photo. It broke my heart and made me think of my mother. What would she feel, not seeing me for years? After the police questioned me, a tow truck was called. As I waited, a familiar face appeared at my car window. "Fernandez, what are you doing here?" It was Jake. "You look awful. Can't believe your car broke down again. Let's get you back to town." I said nothing during the ride. In town, I headed to the motel without a word. But before I left, Jake leaned out his truck window. "How'd it go with Robert's harmonica? Did you calm him before he left?" "Forget it. I know you did the right thing. Hurry up, your mom's waiting." "Who the hell are you?" I demanded. "I told you, I know all of Route 66's secrets," he replied. Before I could respond, his truck drove off, vanishing into a thick white mist. That night changed me forever. I never saw Jake again. The next day, with my car fixed, I left Route 66 to see my mother. When distance separates loved ones, remember that the bond transcends space and time. Shared memories, happy moments, and deep emotions live on in the heart, keeping that connection alive through calls, messages, and shared memories is the best we can do. Seize every chance to communicate and express your feelings to loved ones. You never know when it might be the last time. If you love thrills, mystery, or horror, don't miss an episode of our channel. Be sure to like this video and hit the bell for notifications. With your support, we'll keep producing gripping, terrifying stories. Thanks for watching. As I debated, I heard a slow, melancholic harmonica melody coming from within. Cautiously, I neared the entrance. From the darkness, a raspy voice called out, "Looks like someone else got stuck on Route 66 tonight." Sitting in an old armchair was a weary-looking man with a harmonica in hand and eyes, reflecting years of stories and roads traveled. That night, Route 66 revealed another of its secrets, and I was about to uncover a story that would change my journey forever. The man, with his weathered skin and deep gaze, watched me with a mix of curiosity and understanding. The faint light of a candle cast dancing shadows on the station's worn walls. Frozen at the entrance, unsure whether to advance or flee, I heard him say, "Come for some warmth." He gestured toward a small fire in the corner. Taking it as an invitation, I entered. Sitting by the fire, I tried to calm myself, remembering that unexpected situations often reveal humanity in the unlikeliest places. "My name's Robert," he said, offering me a can of hot coffee. I thanked him softly, introduced myself, and briefly explained my situation. "Route 66 has a peculiar way of teaching lessons, son," Robert said with an ironic smile. "Many have been stranded here, and this old station has been a refuge for more than one." I sipped the bitter coffee, its warmth comforting me. "Do you live here?" I asked, noticing signs of a makeshift camp Robert chuckled. Just passing through, like you, but I know this place well. Came looking for something I left behind long ago. As we chatted, the wind howled louder outside, and I began hearing other sounds, unintelligible whispers, light footsteps, and what seemed like a forgotten melody's soft lament. I wondered if I was hallucinating from exhaustion and fear. Hear that? Robert murmured, his expression now serious. I nodded, unable to hide my unease. They're the lost souls of Route 66, he explained. People like you and me, trapped here, who never found their way back. My mind struggled to process his words. Was he suggesting ghosts haunted this station? Before I could ask, a cold gust enveloped the room, extinguishing the fire and plunging us into darkness. Robert quickly lit a flashlight, revealing ethereal figures moving in the shadows. Time seemed to stop. These figures, with expressions of sorrow and longing, surrounded us, as if trying to share their untold stories. I felt their pain, their yearning, and for a moment I saw myself as one of them, trapped in this asphalt purgatory. Robert began playing his harmonica again, and, surprisingly, the figures seemed to calm, drifting toward him, listening to the melody. With each note, the oppressive atmosphere lightened, and my fear faded. When he finished, Robert sighed. Music has the power to heal, even lost souls, kid, he said with a weary smile. Dawn was approaching, and the danger seemed to have passed. We decided to rest before continuing. But I knew that night, the abandoned station, with its whispers and melodies, would stay with me forever. The first rays of dawn filtered through the station's broken windows. Robert and I rose, stretching from our uncomfortable sleep on the cold concrete floor. Though I'd slept little, I felt renewed, with a new perspective on my journey and the mysterious Route 66. Robert gathered his belongings and gave me a pat on the back. You should check your car, he suggested. Daylight might help you. Fix the battery or at least get a signal to call for help. I thanked him for his company and advice. Before parting, Robert handed me his old harmonica. Take it, son, he said with a deep look. It might protect you on the road, like it did for me. With the harmonica in my pocket and a sense of gratitude, I headed back to my car. As I approached, unease grew, recalling the whispers and souls we'd encountered, though the day was clear and the sun warmed the landscape. The road's desolation still carried an eerie energy. I tried starting the car again, but it wouldn't budge. Frustrated, I opened the hood, hoping for an obvious fix, but my mechanical knowledge was limited. I checked my phone and, to my surprise, had one bar of signal. I quickly called a tow truck. While waiting, I heard a faint whisper carried by. The wind, looking up, I saw a tall, thin figure in black at the horizon, with long arms and dark, bulging eyes fixed on me. Despite the distance, I felt the intensity of its gaze. Instinctively, I took refuge in my car and locked the doors, my heart pounding. Then I remembered Robert's harmonica. Without thinking, I pulled it out and played the melody he'd used to calm the souls at the station. As a kid, I'd learned to play wind instruments, including the harmonica. As the notes flowed, the figure seemed to hesitate, as if the music affected it. After what felt like an eternity, it dissolved into the air, leaving the road empty. Exhausted and relieved, I slumped in my seat, grateful for Robert's unusual gift. Soon I heard an engine. Approaching it was the tow truck. Route 66 had proven more challenging and mysterious than I'd ever imagined. A burly man with a thick, grey-streaked beard stepped out, His tired eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Mr. Fernandez?" he asked, inspecting my car. I nodded, still shaken. "I'm Jake. They said you had car trouble out here." I explained what happened, omitting the supernatural details. "Route 66 can be treacherous," Jake muttered. "Lots of folks tell stories about it. Some are true, some aren't, but everyone agrees it's not a place to linger after dark." With a hum, the tow truck lifted my car. I watched with relief as my trusty companion was secured. Jake invited me into the cab, and we headed to the nearest town. In the cab, conversation flowed easily. Jake had lived near Route 66 his whole life and knew its secrets like the back of his hand. He spoke of cars vanishing without a trace, mysterious lights in the distance, and people marked by the road. But what struck me most was his story about a young woman who, decades ago, disappeared on the same stretch where my car broke down. Her vehicle was found abandoned, but she never returned. Many believed her spirit still roamed, searching for someone to guide her home. Jake's story made me think of the figure I'd seen and the protection the harmonica had offered. I didn't mention this to Jake, not wanting to seem crazy, but I felt a deep connection to the young woman's spirit. Perhaps my melody had helped her, even briefly. In town, Jake recommended a reliable mechanic and a motel for the night. Before parting, he clapped my back. "Take care on Route 66, friend," he warned. "And if you see that girl again, don't forget to play that harmonica. She might just need a song to find her way home." How the hell did he know that? I hadn't mentioned the harmonica. Before I could say anything, Jake was back in his truck and gone. He'd said he knew Route 66's secrets, and it seemed he meant it. With my car in the shop and night falling, I headed to the motel, still reeling from the day's events. The receptionist, an older woman with a warm smile, commented, "There's a full moon tonight. It's beautiful, but brings old legends and wandering spirits." I brushed off her remark and went to my room. The motel had an old, worn charm that felt oddly comforting. The room was decorated with floral wallpaper and dated wooden furniture. But what caught my eye was the large window overlooking the highway, framing a bright moon. After a quick shower, I lay in bed, my thoughts racing. Jake's stories and my own experiences kept me awake. Every noise and shadow cast by the moonlight seemed alive. Then something caught my attention. A barely visible female figure in the moon's silver glow, walking along the road's shoulder. Her movements were slow, almost ethereal, her dress swaying in the night breeze. Unlike the dark, distant shadow I'd seen before, she looked different. Without thinking, I left my room and followed her cautiously. She led me to an old bridge over a dry creek. The sound of trickling water mixed with the wind's murmur and a cricket's chirp. She stopped in the middle of the bridge, gazing at the water below. The air in Los Angeles had that peculiar winter scent mixed with the ocean breeze, always wrapping me in a nostalgic embrace. That December, I stood by the window of my small apartment, watching the city that had been my home for nearly a decade. Christmas lights were starting to illuminate the streets, reminding me that the end of the year was just around the corner. My name is Emilio Fernandez. At 35, I had lived through more experiences than most could imagine. The city lights shimmered before my eyes, but sometimes I felt they didn't shine for me. Loneliness had been my companion since I left Chicago to chase a better life on the West Coast. I had achieved many things in Los Angeles, but that persistent emptiness, that longing for what I left behind, was always there. An old portrait of My mother sat on the dining table. The photograph was taken in a Chicago park on a sunny summer day. Her eyes always seemed full of untold stories, adventures she cherished but never shared. The last time I saw her was 5 years ago for her birthday. Distances, though they seem insurmountable, are sometimes just excuses we use to avoid facing what we truly feel. The truth is, I missed her. Running my fingers over the photo's frame, I paused to think. A Christmas card from her had arrived a few days ago, and her handwritten words touched me deeply. "I miss you, Emilio," it read at the end. Those simple words made me reconsider many things. I decided to visit her for Christmas, but I didn't want the usual quick, fleeting plane trip. I wanted to feel every mile, every landscape. I wanted to rediscover Route 66, that iconic highway I traveled with my father as a child. I remembered the motels we stayed in, the burgers at roadside diners, the laughter and the songs we played on the radio. There was another reason for wanting to drive. I had recently bought a car from a used lot. It wasn't the newest or most luxurious, but it had character. Honestly, it was an impulsive purchase, a gift to myself to close out the year. What better way to test it than an epic cross-country trip? With renewed determination and enthusiasm, I began planning my adventure. I dug through my shelves for an old Route 66 guide that belonged to my father and started mapping my route. The plan was to make the trip in about 3 days, stopping at different places, reliving childhood memories and creating new ones. I'd stay in motels and explore small communities that had likely changed since my last visit. That night, as Los Angeles glowed before my eyes, I was already immersed in an adventure that promised to be unforgettable. I only hoped Route 66 was ready for a dreamer like me. The next morning dawned fresh and clear. I woke early, eager to start my journey. Before leaving, I did a final sweep of my apartment to ensure I didn't forget anything important. Though excited, a wave of melancholy hit me. I knew I was closing one chapter and opening another, filled with discoveries and reunions. This road trip had a deeper purpose than just visiting my mother. In my years in Los Angeles, I'd had incredible moments but also faced many challenges. The glow of success sometimes faded, and the city's noise often drowned my thoughts. Loneliness had become my constant companion, especially after choosing not to marry or have children, a decision that now felt like a heavy burden. This trip, I hoped, would be a chance to find myself, reflect, and refocus my life. I looked at my new car parked outside. It was a classic model, rare in the city. Its dark blue paint gleamed under the first rays of sun, and the engine purred. Promising adventure. It wasn't the newest or fastest, but it had soul. Like the cars in movies where the protagonist drives endless highways with the wind in their hair and music blaring. I was eager to test it on the long road to Chicago. I tossed my bag in the back seat, started the engine, and slowly left Los Angeles. The morning traffic was chaotic, but as I moved away from the city center, the road cleared, and I could feel the freedom of the highway. I played a playlist of my favorite 70s and 80s songs, the ones I used to listen to with my parents on similar trips. As I drove, skyscrapers gave way to sprawling fields and roads stretching to the horizon. It was impossible not to feel connected to this vast country, its changing landscapes and hidden stories. Every small town I passed had its own essence, making me wonder about the lives of its inhabitants. In one town, I stopped to stretch my legs and eat lunch at a diner that looked straight out of a movie. The smell of fresh coffee greeted me. While waiting for my order, I chatted with an elderly man at the counter. He shared stories about the town, how it had changed over the years, and the importance of Route 66 to the community. Resuming my journey, I felt that chance encounter marked the start of something special. My car, the road, the landscapes, the people, it all came together to tell a story, the story of a nation, but also my own. As I drove, I felt I was leaving behind the loneliness and noise of the city, diving into a transformative experience. The journey had truly begun, and I was ready to discover what lay ahead. Route 66, with its rich history and ever-changing landscapes, never ceased to amaze me. By late afternoon, I was in the heart of New Mexico. The orange and purple hues of the sunset painted the sky, giving the deserts a mystical aura. Cactus silhouettes stood against the horizon like sentinels of an ancient world. My playlist had run out, and without realizing it, I started tuning in to local radio stations. Ranchera melodies and tales of love and heartbreak filled my car, connecting me even more to the spirit of the place. As the sun set, the first lights of Santa Fe appeared in the distance. I'd heard much about this city, with its colonial architecture and unique blend of cultures. I decided it would be my stop for the night. Entering the city, I was captivated by its cobblestone streets and adobe buildings. The soft glow of old lanterns lit the facades, and people strolled calmly, enjoying the cool night. Despite being a city, there was a peace that contrasted sharply with Los Angeles bustle. After exploring a bit, I found a small hotel that seemed steeped in history, called La Posada de Santa Fe. Its stone and wood facade and the scent of pine in the air invited me to stay. A warm lobby with antique furniture and black and white photos greeted me. The receptionist, an older woman with sun-worn wrinkles but a genuine smile, handed me my room key. Once in my room, I collapsed onto the bed, feeling the journey's fatigue. Yet, an insatiable curiosity pulled me up to explore more. I wandered Santa Fe streets, discovering art galleries, small bars with live music, and craft shops. In one shop, an elderly woman showed me a turquoise pendant, saying it was a protective charm for travelers. Without hesitation, I bought it and hung it on my car's rearview mirror. As the night progressed, I dined at a local restaurant, ordering red chili enchiladas and a craft beer. Nearby, musicians played traditional tunes, and I couldn't help but get swept up in the rhythm and atmosphere. Back at the hotel, the receptionist overheard me mention traveling Route 66. That road has many stories. Young man, she said with an intriguing look. Some are beautiful, but others, her voice trailed off. Curious, I asked what she meant, but she only advised me to be careful and trust my intuition. Her warning added a touch of mystery, leaving me wondering what lay ahead. With restless thoughts, I fell into a deep sleep. Preparing for the next day's journey, I awoke to the first rays of light filtering through my room's window at La Posada de Santa Fe. The receptionist's words and their mystery lingered. After a shower and a hearty breakfast, I set out to continue my trip, ensuring the turquoise pendant was in place, hoping it would bring me luck. I left Santa Fe with renewed energy, excited for the landscapes awaiting me. Hours passed, and the road offered shifting scenes, deserts, mountains, plains. Route 66 felt like a living entity with its own moods and secrets. The afternoon passed calmly, but as night approached, I realized I'd underestimated the distance to the next town. My car's lights were the only ones in the vast darkness, and the desert's silence was broken only by the engine's roar. Around midnight, The dashboard lights flickered, and unease crept in. "Not now," I muttered, hoping it was a minor issue. But within seconds, the lights went out completely, and the car slowed to a stop. I tried restarting it, but the engine was dead, likely the battery. Stranded in the middle of nowhere with no phone signal, surrounded by desert darkness, the receptionist's warning echoed louder in my mind. I grabbed the flashlight from the glove box and stepped out, determined to find a sign of civilization, or at least a safe place, until dawn. A cold wind kicked up dust, limiting visibility. Every sound, my shoes crunching, a distant owl's hoot amplified in the night's solitude, making my heart race. After what felt like hours, I spotted a structure in the distance, an abandoned gas station. Hoping for shelter, I approached, only to notice it wasn't entirely deserted. Through broken windows, I saw faint flickering lights and moving shadows. Inside, a chill ran down my spine. Should I approach or return to my car?